Once again today actually deliver another stream of Zombieland Saga. Good to go, we're good to go, we're good to go. So yes, actually I've returned to actually cover another episode of Zombieland Saga on this stream, actually covering episode 10 of Zombieland Saga. And as we know, episode 9 actually was really freaking good, actually. Like, as a follow-up episode for episode 8, which was phenomenal, it really was a good episode. It actually really explored Saki's character. Actually kind of gave us this kind of, in a way, it's an interesting kind of episode because it kind of cut off her previous life in a way, more so than I've seen before of her characters. Actually, it was a really, really neatly done episode. I thought it was just really nice to explore and actually kind of gave a really nice message at the end. I thought overall it was actually one of the more stronger episodes of the whole entire series. So I guess we're kind of on that trajectory of actually exploring every single character in the group itself, actually kind of see where they are now to what they were beforehand. So I actually do wonder who's going to be next. So yeah, episode 10 looks to be pretty freaking good. So anyways, actually put into actually gone live. So, gone live for Zombieland Saga episode 10. And I believe in that, 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 and I believe in that. Okay, that one's good to go. Oh man. Oh! Twitch, you actually kicked in that time. I'm impressed, Twitch. I'm impressed. So yeah, actually all good to go on all fronts, I believe. Yes, we are. So it's actually at Shona Road. So in 3, 2, 1. Let's start this thing absolutely now. But yeah, as I've been saying this whole entire time, I like how they're actually bringing the characters up to a point, actually then deconstruct them. It's really nicely explored and actually really nicely done. It hits the point where it needs to actually happen. It doesn't happen too soon, it actually doesn't happen too late. It happens at the right time. So yeah, it's been one of those series that also one of the things I actually kind of liked about the series as well is the fact that the characters don't stop after they've actually been kind of explored in one episode. They actually still keep on going. It's one of the things that sometimes in free happen with certain series is they actually kind of hit that end of that character arc and that's it for them. They kind of just become static in a way. But here, it never actually happens because they always actually kind of keep on going because it was just explained with different characters in this show just now. With Sakura explaining about different characters, about how they are now. It shows you the character arc's still there. I mean, it's hit a point, but it keeps going. That's why I always kind of appreciate about certain series is when they're actually able to keep the character arc going even after they hit that kind of crescendo, or hit that catharsis as well. It just shows me that this series, it shows me the series isn't kind of given up with the time it's got left. It's still going to keep going with the characters. Because other series might, in theory, just kind of give up and actually say, well, yeah, there's your characters. You don't need to actually worry anymore. But it's not the case here. So yeah, the series actually is really freaking good. It's actually one of my favorites of the year, I believe. It's actually probably in my top 3 at this point. Because it's just done so many things I didn't expect actually to do, and it's done it so goddamn well that I'm just like. I'm still waiting for him to actually explore Tai's character as well. I want him to be that. I want it to be the last episode actually. It'd be the best way to end the whole entire series, like exploring her character. She is adorable though. I actually quite like how they're exploring Sakura's character, to be honest. It's quite a novel way to actually kind of break up the tension between what's the characters beforehand, in a way. It's a very interesting. It's actually very interesting how they're actually kind of doing her backstory. I actually quite find it quite novel, to be honest. because theoretically it's not the forefront of the whole entire episode. It's kind of it's a part of the episode itself. I actually wonder if not she will actually remember anything by the end of the episode. I actually kind of wondered that. It'd be very interesting to actually kind of see the outcome of the whole entire episode, if you get what I mean. And what that kind of means for her character for the rest of the whole entire narrative. Jesus. Jesus. It's actually a very interesting episode, to be honest. This is actually kind of nice, actually, about her episode is dedicated to Sakura in a way that she kind of explore how she works as a person, as well. It's actually what we kind of needed, to be honest, more so than a lot of things in the episode itself. Is what I'm trying to say. I think my brain just stopped for a second there. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I actually appreciate the fact we're actually exploring how she works as a person. Actually kind of find the outcome of the whole entire thing. Is what I'm trying to say, basically. Hopefully it actually makes sense. My brain completely stopped during mid-sentence just then. I like how Kotaro is kind of one of those people that actually adapts his persona to actually fit the situation itself. Like if he's in front of, it depends on who he's in front of, what situation he's actually in. His voice actually kind of changes upon it. It's actually kind of cool when you think about it. It's a very kind of small thing, but it's like you have his overly eccentric kind of persona, but then you have his kind of calm persona, and you have his kind of like that persona just then. I mean, I guess the kind of interesting thing about this episode as well is the fact that she kind of used the episode to actually kind of explore the faults within Sakura's character. So theoretically, the actual part itself is actually kind of a nice exploration of who she is currently and the faults that she has in her persona at this very one point. It's kind of interesting. Wow. They actually did it again. That's the end? What? Hold up a second. That's the end? They're actually going to leave it right there, that very one pivotal point. Nah, fam. We can't be doing that. That's actually kind of an interesting way to end it. Because you never know what happens if the person kind of experiences the exact same death twice. Which is actually mildly interesting, because does that actually ever work in films? I'm trying to remember, actually. Whether they actually kill a zombie via the same way they died. I know there was a storyline somewhere in one of the films, TV shows, or somewhere that I remember they had to actually take the person out via the same way they died. That's how they passed on. But I don't think they ever worked with zombies. I'm trying to remember, because inherently the way you kill a zombie is you've always kind of known the way to kill a zombie, and it's how they've always kind of rolled with it. Never the whole entire idea of how to actually kind of experience the actual kind of death again. It's mildly interesting, because it kind of then makes you wonder what happens to the rest of the characters. They just forget who they are. Actually, then they just start again. That means they kind of live infinitely? You know what I mean? Forever, basically. I don't think infinitely. I don't think infinite has a context for that word. But you know what I mean. It's kind of interesting, because you just don't know what could actually happen at that very one point. Then. It's actually an interesting prospect. I guess it kind of then makes you wonder what's going to happen. What would happen? Do they regain their old persona, because she remembered who she was beforehand? So do they regain who they were before? That's the interesting thing. So then it kind of makes you wonder what happened to the rest of the characters had they actually experienced the exact same death. I mean, though, if I remember correctly, they were struck by lightning in the other episode, and then they actually kind of grew those powers. So it makes you wonder. It's kind of interesting, but not just with certain people. Whether it kind of makes you wonder at that point, and what's the whole prospect here? What actually does in theory happen? Because it's kind of like, okay, you have that idea, but what's happening now? What's going to happen to the character? What's going to happen to the whole entirety of, like, what's been built up to this whole entire point? It basically comes crashing down to a point. It's interesting, because this whole entire episode kind of dealt with the idea of her kind of looking in on herself, actually kind of realizing the mistakes that she's been making this whole entire time. But when she's realised those mistakes, she basically regains who she was beforehand. So the whole entirety of this time is kind of like, okay, so what does that whole entire point mean? It doesn't mean it's kind of wasted, if you get what I mean. It doesn't kind of go into this whole entire idea that the whole entire time for her character, the character development she's had, the character arc she's had, has been a waste of time. But it kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen now. More than anything, it's actually a very interesting kind of development in a way. So it makes you kind of because if I'm correct, well, I mean, Saki survives the crash last week, says that. So it's just interesting because it kind of makes you wonder what happened to the rest of the characters had the same experience. But yeah, I mean, it was a really nice episode overall, I think. It was one of those episodes that kind of explored the idea of Sakura's character, the idea of how she kind of works as a person. I appreciate the fact that more over anything else in this episode, actually kind of, what I was trying to say beforehand, more so in this episode, the actual kind of exploration of how she works as a person, how it kind of doesn't can be a detriment to how she actually is as a person, and how it actually kind of affects her work. It's actually kind of interesting because she's a person that's actually quite hard working, but in doing so, it kind of affects how she does inferior work at the same time. And then in theory, you actually have the idea of the actual past itself kind of acting as kind of like, in a way, a detriment to the whole entirety of the character. It's an interesting kind of shift in a way for the actual kind of narrative, because beforehand you always had the characters explore their past, and in doing so, exploring their past, you always had that cathartic moment to actually, now it wasn't much of a detriment, it's actually much of a kind of a development for them. But here it's more of a detriment, even more so now, because now she's regained her consciousness from before. It's more of a detriment to what's going to happen next. And I always thought that's actually kind of a nice shift in kind of tone, because it would have just been alright had they gone the exact same route as the previous episodes, kind of exploring the idea of the characters hitting that cathartic moment, actually then in theory them developing as people, actually then their character arc keeps on going off that point. But I appreciate the fact that actually kind of went about doing it in a different way. Actually kind of looked at it from the perspective that, yeah, there's actually a darker side to this whole entire thing. It's not just like, oh yeah, they actually kind of really developed, actually hit that cathartic moment. No, there's actually more to it. I actually thought it's actually kind of a nice shift. It's a shift we actually kind of needed, because again, it would have been fine, but it would have been kind of, I guess some people might have thought of it as repetitious in a way. Actually kind of look at it from this perspective, it's actually kind of different, but I guess it kind of then limits, in a way, the actual kind of other characters and how they will be explored, because Yugiri is kind of still stuck in the dark in a way, actually who she is as a person. I mean, you kind of get hints at here and there who she was before, and actually kind of in a way how she was as a person. There hasn't been a sole dedicated episode to her, also tie as well, so we actually have 2 weeks left, so it might be interesting to see whether or not actually doing Fury just tie both of them together into like episode 11 and 12. But I mean, yeah, overall, it was just really freaking good. It was a good episode. It was just one of those ones I just felt, wow, that's actually a really nice shift in tone. Actually kind of explore the idea of how the idea of death inflicts zombies as well, in a way. It's a nice little change of pace as well, because the death for zombie has always been one of those kind of cathartic moments for the actual protagonist in other shows, but here it's kind of used as an idea of a detriment towards the character itself, more so than any other in any other mediums I've seen. It's interesting. It's a very interesting kind of idea. So, yeah, overall, really freaking good. So, as always, if you have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole, then do leave a good old follow on Twitch, because indeed, there's something quite a bit. If you actually have enjoyed it here on YouTube, and you do want to leave, and actually do want to leave a like, then do leave a like, because indeed, that should help me quite a bit. And you actually want to say that, yeah. And you actually enjoy what do you hear on YouTube, and you do want to stay a bit longer, then do leave a sub, because indeed actually does help me quite a bit. And also, you want to stay a bit longer after that whole entire point, and do follow me on Twitter, because indeed actually does help me quite a bit. On Twitter, you actually will then find when these streams go live, and the other streams I do as well. And also, if Twitter is not your thing, I do for a Discord server, actually in theory tell you when these streams go live, and the other streams I do as well. But until next time, episode 11 of the Zombieland Saga, the penultimate episode, I believe. Until then, I'll see you guys later, and bye for now.